Well, hello from a farm in central England. Hope you're having a great day.
We've been here for about 6 weeks now, and before we start our travel series, we thought it'd be really fun to share with you our first impressions, the things we love and hate about England.
Hello, we are Ben and Rebecca, and this is our puppy Lucia. In the fall of 2021, we shipped our 4x4 camper van Denny across the Atlantic in search of new experiences and a life less ordinary. Welcome to our journey. Before we get started, let's throw out a little disclaimer. The words love and hate. You know what? I can't lie. They're words that people on YouTube will click on to watch. But these are just general observations. And not saying that they're bad or good, just observations from our life experiences.
So definitely number one and first thing on our list, the people. Everyone here is beyond nice.
Even customer service representatives on the phone.
It's amazing. People are polite, they are kind, they are helpful, they follow through with the tasks.
Yeah, like the customer service, like you ask them to do something and you're thinking, oh great, that ain't gonna happen. Well, you know what? They email you the next day and say, it's done. Here's my personal phone number if you need anything.
Exactly.
And that's calling a cell phone company. It is amazing. Next up, let's talk about the land, terra firma, what we are actually on, the island. And first of all, it is green and absolutely beautiful. The farmlands are beautiful. The tree lines are beautiful. The castles are beautiful. The coastline is beautiful. Everything is absolutely gorgeous here. And just going in on the castles, I know we're still kind of new to the whole castle thing and they're everywhere. So we're still enjoying them, but the castles are amazing.
It's also very clean here. We rarely see graffiti, rarely see trash. So that's a lovely
contrast to the continent.
It is.
I'll just have to leave it at that.
Particularly the graffiti part. Yep, and something that Lucy especially loves is how dog-friendly it is here. Almost everywhere. She can go with us, from restaurants to castles, everything. It's lovely. And
it's kind of hard to find things that we hate about England so far. So here's a couple petty ones. I was a little shocked, but when it warms up, it gets humid here, quite similar to the northeast of the United States. So I wasn't quite expecting it to be so muggy. I don't know why, but that's just an observation. And also, well, we followed spring north and my allergies have been wreaking havoc on me for about 3 months now. And they didn't get any better here in England.
Last thing we can nitpick about England is that we have yet to find much in the way of public land to explore. Not quite like home, where you're used to seeing lots of places not owned by somebody.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of private land, but what we're used to, and I say this like what we are used to, and that's the more the unique observation part, we're used to like BLM land or national forests and just free, wide open land west of the Rockies. So we have yet to find that.
Though, it's really cool because even though land is owned, they have these right-of-ways where you can go for walks or hikes and actually pass over people's land. And they put little gates where their fences are along the walkways. So you can just pass through, or steps to climb over their fences. It's crazy.
It's kind of like an easement. In my mind. But yeah, somebody also told us a story about how somebody built a house on one of the walking path right-of-ways, and I think it like went right through the house, so the house was like not sellable at all. So the historic walking ways of this region have been preserved and are not restricted by private land.
Next topic up for discussion would be camping. And one thing that we've really enjoyed here is the fact that nearly all of the pitches are grass.
Pitches means campsite.
I'm trying to get with the local lingo here. Furthermore, when you stay in campgrounds or campsites, using local lingo, that have amenities, they are just stellar clean. And one thing that I noted at the last place we stayed even was it's something that kind of everybody participates in. You finish your shower and there's a mop and a bucket there. You wipe out your shower and help keep it clean. And it's just this really nice, like, personal responsibility component I loved.
I've never seen somebody cleaning the showers at a campground bathroom in the States unless they actually worked at the campground.
Yeah.
Talking about camping, and this is one of my big pet peeves no matter what continent we're on. I like our camper to be level. What's the good in having a countertop if an egg or an orange rolls off of it and hits the ground? So our first impressions of Cornwall, is amazing and is very hilly there. But if you're paying for a campsite, you're paying a lot of times for a campsite that's this crooked, and I'm just putting it out there. It annoys me. We touched a little bit about this on the last one, but the whole wide open lands for wild camping is really non-existent to what we have seen so far. There's little notches that people can pull into and hide out, but you're kind of not guaranteed to not receive the knock. And I don't think you could stay there for multiple days at a time. So you'd have to kind of keep bouncing. Another thing about the camping is it is costly sometimes.
Yeah.
The farm we're staying at here is 10 pounds a night, and that is about as good as you can find. Yeah. Literally, we're paying 10 pounds just to park in somebody's beautiful grass field here. So there are campgrounds, and those range anywhere so far that we have been willing to pay to that 15 to 25 pound range.
Yes. And that's sometimes even with discounts, which we'll get into later. But yes, it has been definitely hard on the budget.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot more than anywhere else in Europe for our camping.
And we're just not used to having to pay to camp.
Nope.
So
and there are no other options.
You need to factor in if you're going to be crossing the pond and exploring this part of the world.
Moving right along, let's talk about driving in England.
Driving on the right or the wrong side of the road.
The left side of the road. All right, well, first off, I will preface this with we've been paying high gas prices, fuel prices, the whole time we've been in Europe. I thought we were prepared for this, but it is even more pricey here in England. And I'll be honest, the first time I went in to pay the fuel bill when we filled up here, I just about fell over.
Yeah, in the conversion to US dollars, we had a pretty empty tank though.
We did.
But it was
33 or something.
230-ish US dollars just to fill up one of our tanks. So
30 gallons.
You're looking at price conversions from the pound to the dollar, and then also liter to gallon. And right now, we're generally seeing diesel at about $1.99 a liter.
Pounds per liter.
Yeah, 199 pounds per liter.
So it converts into almost $10 US per gallon.
But there are some saving graces. Let's call them that. Saving grace number one, well, yeah, all things being what they are, it's small here.
Yeah.
So you go and log a 400-mile drive day, you're practically up in Scotland.
Yeah, you drive almost the whole length of the island.
So
short distances, and unless you happen to get on one of the few big freeways, which we tend not to do, you kind of driving down small country roads. And so we have been enjoying really good fuel economy. So it counterbalances a tad.
And something else I like about driving, and so before a light turns green, there's a yellow light for about 1 second. So it's yellow and red, and then it goes green. So that gives you a chance to put it into first gear and get your foot going. And I think it might save 1 to 2 seconds, which I'm sure there's scientists that have added it up that keeps traffic flowing a little bit better.
Well, with all the roundabouts, maybe it helps make up for the many roundabouts. Everywhere you go, roundabout. little ones, giant ones,
with stoplights,
roundabouts with stoplights, with roundabouts with multiple entry and exit points off it. Is crazy.
You have to definitely stay focused. I'm going to take a peek down here. Oh yeah, one other note about the roundabouts is that they're not as bad as we've seen in other countries.
No.
There was a stretch of Italy where it was like every 300 or 400 yards or meters that there was a roundabout. So they're not that bad. They're usually spaced out a ways.
And last thing, we have found those little country roads, for the most part, are quite narrow. In Cornwall in particular, because you had the walled roads, but even as we've moved to the more northerly part of England, still very narrow, often only room for one vehicle and somebody has to back up. And it does seem like the rule of tonnage plays a role in that. Everybody's always getting out of our way.
It's either that or everybody is very nice.
Yeah. Next up on the list of topics to explore, the logistics of being here. So first and foremost, after being in Europe for quite a few months, it has been very refreshing to not have a language barrier. It's a wonderful experience to get to improve your Spanish and improve your French, try to learn Croatian and German and all the other, and Italian. But honestly, it's just refreshing and kind of a relief not to have to worry about what language everybody's speaking.
Yeah. It's almost like being from California and visiting relatives in Boston. Yeah, you're both speaking the same language, just very subtle differences, and I'm loving that.
I know, it's so much fun to learn these new phrases, and we've been starting to pick a few of them up, which is really fun.
It'll be scary if I when greeting people, start saying hiya. That's like hello or hey there.
Yeah.
But hiya.
I will also say that obtaining a SIM card for England was by far the easiest place to do so. And not just because there was no language barrier, so I could explain what I needed, but also just the simplicity of setup. It didn't matter that I didn't have a local address or that I wasn't a resident or I didn't have a utility bill.
Or foreign credit card, all the complications that we've encountered.
We had a SIM card within an hour of hitting land in England, which is the record for Europe so far.
Yeah. Okay, next up, I'm going to take my eyes off the lens. Yes, so it's the middle of June, end of June, give or take of 2022. And right now, there are no COVID restrictions here in England or United Kingdom, and it is life as if it was December of 2019. I'm just saying, it's refreshing. I really hope the world continues down this path because we've all been through a real show over the past 2.5 years, and just to say it's very, very refreshing to not have to deal with COVID restrictions.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add on to that, really nice to get to be around other humans and make friends and meet people and not feel quite so worried.
Exactly.
Okay, next thing up to talk about, the current exchange rate for pounds to dollars is very much in our favor right now. So when I was a kid and we used to come here, the ratio was always 2 to 1, like 1 pound to 2 US dollars. So not in our favor and really expensive to come here. Right now we are at $1.35, give or take, per pound. And so that makes things definitely more reasonably priced. Still expensive here in England for sure.
Definitely the most expensive so far.
Definitely. Especially because of added expenses of the campgrounds, but groceries are a little bit more pricey because of the exchange rate, etc. But definitely not as bad as in past times.
So the next logistical thing that I want to talk about, it's a love-hate, but I'm loving it here because we don't have the Schengen clock ticking. And that has been a royal pain in our arse for the entire time we have been on the continent. Because as Americans, we are allowed to be in Schengen, which is, Schengen's all the big popular countries in Europe.
Most of Western Europe.
Exactly. But now the UK and England is not Schengen post-Brexit, but you're only allowed 90 out of 180 days, and we're not in a race around the world. And you would be surprised at how much there is to see when traveling anywhere over here. And especially like with fuel prices, you wouldn't mind not driving super long distances as well. So you may think that the Schengen thing is not going to be a big deal if you come to Europe, but it is. Now we're loving the fact that England, United Kingdom, has 6 months for Americans. That is no longer a Schengen clock. That is Big Ben ticking for 6 months. And the vehicle, our truck, can be on Her Majesty's land for 12 months. And then if we go over to Ireland, that is EU non-Schengen. So we're given 90 days over there. And then maybe if we come back, we might get a fresh 6 months here in England, and the truck might get another 12 months. Heck, we might not leave.
We may never go anywhere else.
It is actually really cool.
So, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, this next item. We joined a camping club, we joined the National Trust, and the English Heritage membership programs.
And pub stops.
And
or Brit stops.
Brit stops, yes. So those are the 4 things we joined coming here to the UK. English Heritage and National Trust allow us to enter historic sites, like all of the castles we've been to so far, and lots of just
the beautiful stretches of coastline.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Cape Cornwall was
Exactly.
a National Heritage site or National Trust site.
One of them.
Yeah. Anyway, it cost us a bit of money up front. Each one was around 100 to 150 pounds for a year for the 2 of us. Plus, I think it's 3 kids if you have children. But we did a family pack. However, we did the math and realized, geez, we would spend that if we visited, the 2 of us visited 5 places each. So we thought because we were going to be here for an extended period of time, it would be beneficial to join it. And it really has been, because then we can stay for 20 minutes and it starts pouring down rain. And we're like, okay, we go.
Yeah.
We don't worry about how many places we stop, or we have to budget for each place or anything like that. And if we don't like it, or the weather turns, or whatever, okay, we move on. So that's been a really nice investment. And if you're staying a shorter period of time, they do have visitor ones as well that are 14 or 30-day long options.
Yeah. So there are a lot of camping clubs or camping and caravan clubs here, and they get you discounts at the campgrounds. So that campground by the Diddley Squat, we were paying 24 pounds a night, but it was
quite a bit more. I think it saved us 20 pounds for a 3-night stay.
Okay, so somewhere around 6 pounds per night savings, and the membership was
49 pounds.
Okay, and it also gets you discounts on ferries.
Yep.
So we're thinking this one's gonna
10% discount on the Irish ferry. That's
pay
why
for
we did
itself
this company.
pretty darn quick.
Well, yeah, it'll pay for itself with that one stay at Diddley Squat, and when we buy our Irish ferry crossing one way, it'll pay for that.
The last club that we joined is called Brit Stops. I'm still kind of torn on it, but essentially it puts you in touch with pubs that allow you to park for the night on their property in return for a meal or getting a pint in the pub. Very similar to Harvest Hosts in the States, but I'm still not quite sure whether you need to be part of Brit Stops to actually just go to a pub and say, hey, can I park for the night? I just got to put that out there. And Brit Stops was about, give or take, 30 pounds for an annual membership, and it gives one device access to their app, and you get a paper book. We haven't gotten the paper book yet. We're all digital here in our tiny living situation.
On the subject of pubs, we must discuss the topic of British cuisine. And I have to agree with Rick Steves on this point. The food scene in England is really primo these days. I remember as a kid having that concept of, you know, they kind of had comfort foods and beef Wellington and the little pies and the pasties and things like that, but it wasn't like fabulous food. This time around has been amazing with the farm to table foods, and really enjoyable, homemade, high quality ingredients when we visited all of the different restaurants we went to.
More specifically, the restaurants we've visited are pubs, and they really do focus on locally sourced ingredients. And I have fallen in love with something called gammon steaks. And essentially it is pork, or it's ham, but it's raw, but yet it's cured and cut thick like a steak. So it is, you throw it on the grill, it is like the world's best tasting chunk of ham you have ever had.
Something that I have really enjoyed here is the fact that I don't have to like beer. I don't really enjoy beer, never have. And everywhere we go, they serve cider. And in fact, often people will offer you a cider instead of a beer when you're hanging out around the campfire or something. And I have really enjoyed the cider scene, all of the different flavors, and the fact that I'm not the
There's cloudy cider.
I know, and sparkly,
learning.
bubbly ciders, and it's so much fun. So it's been a real treat here.
Now, there are some foods that I personally do not like, and these are just individual preferences, but I have to say, I know I'm going to hurt some people's feelings here, but the whole putting beans on toast and beans on a baked potato, beans in Yorkshire pudding, which is, don't call it bread in front of them, but it's called pudding, but it's like a roll, but the beans on everything, and it's just very foreign to me. And I know that sounds stupid.
Maybe it'll grow on you.
Well, no, I'm just saying it sounds foreign, sounds stupid. I don't think ever beans on toast is going to grow on me. And I also am not a fan of cooked tomatoes, which is what they put to complement an English breakfast. So they cut a tomato in half, throw it on the grill, get it hot. It turns mushy, and I'm just going to ask for, next time we get an English breakfast, a raw tomato. And that shouldn't hurt anybody's feelings.
No.
And surprisingly, we've spoken to a few people about this, and quite a few people don't like the cooked fresh tomatoes.
I, on the other hand, love them. Since I went to Ireland the first time, that's where I had cooked tomatoes for breakfast. And I took that back home with me and would grill tomatoes for breakfast at home. So I'm all about it. The other thing you're really not too much loving is how they put potatoes in all of the pastry things, like the pies and the pasties.
Is the starch
on top of a starch?
On top of a starch, on top of a starch. But that's the fun of traveling, seeing all these different flavors.
On the flip side, something we have loved, I mentioned a little the farm to table, but we have enjoyed some of the best farm stands we've ever seen. So there was one down in Cornwall with this really sweet lady, and they had everything imaginable.
I am shocked that this place was our full-blown grocery stop, and it was all organic, all good, healthy,
all from
lamb and
nearby.
veggies and Indian sausage. Ooh, let's talk about, I'm just gonna go off topic here, but the Indian food in England, off the hook. Amazing, the best Indian food. I think I could actually be a vegan if I could only eat Indian food.
In my opinion, the Indian food here is the best I've ever had outside of India. It's just stellar. So,
but circling back to these farm stands, they are spectacular. We even visited Diddley Squat, and they have cow juice and just all kinds of local stuff, and it has to be local for these farm stands.
30 miles of the farm stand is the regional rule they have.
Next up, groceries. I was shocked. I thought groceries were going to be a lot more expensive. Now, keep in mind, even with the dollar to pound conversion, it's definitely not the cheapest country we visited for groceries, but I thought it would be a lot worse. So
it's also very grocery store dependent here. So we try really hard to hit the Lidl as often as we can, or Lidl. I don't know.
Still haven't learned how to pronounce it.
I think it depends on what country you're in. But it's a fabulous grocery store, and we've really come to like it. And
it's all across the continent too.
Yeah, and we can get out of Lidl usually somewhere for a third to a half less than any other grocery store price-wise. And
we have learned that the grocery store Waitrose, we're talking practically double what you would spend at a Lidl.
Yeah.
Next up on groceries.
Oh.
This one's kind of weird given the fact that they're pushing the whole electric
Green
cars
thing.
and the whole green
They're
environmental
very
stuff.
green here,
Yeah, which is cool. That's
wonderful.
awesome. But then you go to the grocery store and you can't just pick up 5 tomatoes. It's 5 tomatoes wrapped up in this plastic clamshell. And every single thing, aside from that farm store,
well,
which
yeah, when you go to farm stands, it's different.
But all the grocery stores, you're getting pears. They're in a package of plastic.
It's not just a package of plastic, though. It's a tray of, like a half clamshell with a plastic bag over the top of it. I mean, we take out, the last time we went grocery shopping, I took out 2.5 bags, like those little produce bags you put your produce in, full of plastic. It was insane.
Yeah. It is very excessive on the plastic scene. And they also refrigerate a lot of the produce as well.
Yeah.
And we have limited refrigeration space in the camper for obvious reasons. So, you know, you buy nectarines or apples that are refrigerated. And then, you know, they're not going to last as well once you unrefrigerate them. And most likely the ones that are not refrigerated were refrigerated at one time. So you're going back and forth. And
which stands to reason that's another point on why we really like the farm stands, because then everything's usually out of the fridge for the produce. And so it makes it last longer and we don't have all the plastic.
Definitely. And last up on our food list is that I'm able to find green Coleman propane bottles for our barbecue. I asked on a Europe Facebook group, hey, can I get green propane bottles before we come here, or do I need to get a new barbecue? And I guess I must have been talking to a Brit, because we have not seen any green Coleman propane bottles on the continent, but we got here in a store called Go Outdoors, has them. But here, you know, if you're sitting in America right now, you might need to brace yourself. But one of those bottles costs 21 pounds, which is roughly maybe $27.
Yes. We didn't even look at the price. We were just so ecstatic to see them. We were like, we're going to buy them. And then we got up to the register and we bought 2 propane bottles and these 2 little chairs we're sitting on, which were 9 pounds each. And she said, 60 some pounds, please. And I was like, come again? I thought, did we add something up wrong? Holy smokes.
Yep.
But I got to say, kind of worth it to be able to barbecue outside of
we're just being very strategic. Like, kind of with the camera, I push the shutter button with purpose. Well, I turn the barbecue on with purpose because I am not gonna, go wasting that propane.
Well, that's a wrap, folks. And I hope you can tell that we are having a lot of fun here, and we have really great things lying ahead in our videos from England and Wales and Ireland and Scotland.
Well, we haven't been to those places yet, but they're on the docket.
That's right.
We really hope this video helped educate you a little bit about, especially if you're an American, what you're going to experience when you get over here. And all in all, it has been great. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to follow our adventures, and we'll see you on the road.